In the Southern Ocean, life begins in the cold, beneath ice, wind, and endless gray water. This is one of Earth's harshest marine worlds. But it is not empty. It is alive with invisible motion. Tiny plants bloom in the sunlit water. Krill rise in great swarms. Whales follow the krill. Penguins dive through the cold blue. Seals hunt beneath the ice. For decades, one animal stood at the center: Antarctic krill. Small, shrimp-like, and unbelievably important. Krill feed on phytoplankton. Then krill feed almost everything else. Whales, seals, seabirds, fish, and penguins. But now, another creature is rising, transparent, gelatinous, almost ghost-like in the water. The salp, alone, it looks fragile. In swarms, it can reshape the sea. This is the story of massive salp blooms and how they may change the Antarctic food web. Salps are not jellyfish. They are barrel-shaped drifting animals. Their bodies are clear and soft. They move by pumping water through themselves. That movement also feeds them. A salp is a living filter. Water enters one end. Tiny particles are trapped inside. Cleaned water exits the other end. With every pulse, the salp swims and feeds. This simple design can become powerful, especially when food is abundant. In the Southern Ocean, spring changes everything. Sunlight returns after the long polar darkness. Sea ice begins to retreat. Phytoplankton multiply in the upper ocean. The water fills with microscopic food. Krill arrive to graze, but salps can also take advantage. And when salps find the right conditions, they explode in number. One salp becomes many. Many become chains. Chains become swarms. Swarms become living clouds. A bloom can fill cold water with transparent bodies. To the camera, they look like drifting glass. To the ecosystem, they are a major shift, because salps do not feed the food web like krill do. Krill are rich prey for many Antarctic animals. Penguins depend on them. Seals depend on them. Fish and seabirds depend on them. Great whales depend on them too. Krill are like the central currency of the Southern Ocean, but salps are different. Their bodies are watery. Their energy value is lower for many predators. Some animals can eat them, but they are not a perfect replacement for krill. If salps increase while krill decline, the menu changes. And in Antarctica, changing the menu changes everything. Imagine a penguin colony. Adults must dive again and again for food. Their chicks wait on the ice or rocks. The adults need krill-rich water. If krill are scarce, every dive becomes harder. A sea filled with salps may not feed them the same way. The problem is not that salps are useless. The problem is that they redirect energy. Energy that once flowed through krill may move elsewhere, toward gelatinous pathways, toward deep carbon export, toward animals that can handle soft prey. This is why salp blooms matter. They are not just strange spectacles. They are ecological signals, signs that the Southern Ocean may be shifting. The Southern Ocean is driven by cold, ice, and seasons. Krill are closely tied to sea ice. Young krill use ice-associated algae as food. Ice can provide shelter and feeding grounds, but sea ice patterns are changing in many regions. Warmer water and altered ice can change who wins. In some conditions, salps may gain an advantage. They can grow quickly when food and water conditions align. Their life cycle allows rapid population growth. A bloom can appear suddenly. One season can look different from the last. A krill-dominated system can become crowded with salps. For predators, that change can matter immediately. For carbon, it can matter deeply. Salps produce dense sinking waste. Their fecal pellets can fall quickly through the water, carrying carbon away from the surface, down into the deep sea. This links salps to the biological carbon pump. A bloom at the surface can affect the ocean floor. It can move carbon from sunlight to darkness, from the food web to the deep ocean. This makes salps both fascinating and complicated. They may reduce food for some surface predators, but they may also export carbon efficiently. They are not simply good or bad. They are powerful because they change pathways. In the Southern Ocean, pathways decide survival. A phytoplankton cell can feed a krill. The krill can feed a penguin. The penguin can feed a seal or skua. The same cell can enter a different route. It can be filtered by a salp, packed into waste, and sent downward. That carbon may bypass many surface animals. The food web becomes rerouted. This is the hidden power of salp blooms. They change where energy goes. They change who gets fed. They change how carbon moves. And they may change the future of Antarctic life. To understand them, we must look closer. A salp's body is almost transparent. It looks delicate, almost empty. But inside, water is constantly moving. The salp filters tiny particles from the sea. It turns invisible food into body mass. In enough numbers, that becomes a grazing force. A swarm can clear particles from the water. It can compete with krill for microscopic food. But krill and salps do not play the same role. Krill are dense packets of energy. Salps are watery filters. Krill swim in swarms with strong bodies. Salps drift and pulse through the current. Krill fuel predators directly. Salps may send more material downward. This difference can reshape the ecosystem, not with teeth, not with claws, but with numbers, timing, and filtration. A salp bloom is quiet. There is no roar, no flashing teeth, no obvious attack, just thousands of clear bodies pulsing through cold water. And yet, the effect can be enormous. The bloom changes the texture of the sea. What was once krill-rich may become gelatinous. What was once food for penguins may sink away. What was once visible prey becomes transparent mass. Predators must search harder. Scientists must ask harder questions. Is the system changing temporarily, or is it shifting toward a new state? Are salps replacing krill in some regions, or are they rising and falling with natural cycles? The answer may depend on place and season. The Southern Ocean is not one simple system. It is a ring of currents around Antarctica, a moving belt of cold water. Different regions warm and change differently. Some places may favor krill, others may favor salps. This creates a patchwork food web. One area may support penguins and whales. Another may pulse with salp chains. The future may not be uniform. It may be uneven, shifting, and difficult to predict. That uncertainty makes salps important. They may be indicators of environmental change. A bloom can signal altered food availability. It can signal warmer water. It can signal changes in sea ice. It can signal a different carbon pathway. But signals must be read carefully. A single bloom is not the whole story. Scientists need long-term data. Ships tow nets through cold water. Satellites watch surface conditions. Sensors measure temperature and salinity. Cameras reveal the fragile animals alive. Because salps are difficult to study. Their soft bodies can break in nets. Their blooms can appear and vanish quickly. Their distribution can shift with currents. The Southern Ocean itself is difficult to access. Storms can stop ships. Ice can block routes. Darkness can limit fieldwork. But understanding salps is worth the effort because they sit at a critical intersection between plankton and predators, between surface food and deep carbon, between climate and food web change. Salps may be small individually, but blooms make them impossible to ignore. Picture a whale feeding ground. The water should be dense with krill. A whale opens its massive mouth. It filters tons of water, but if the water holds fewer krill, the reward changes. Now picture a penguin dive. It darts through cold blue water, searching for the dense prey it needs. A salp bloom may not offer the same return. Now picture the deep ocean. Salp waste falls like dark snow. Carbon sinks into the cold depths. Bacteria and deep animals may use it. The surface system loses material. The deep system receives it. One bloom connects many worlds. Ice, sunlight, phytoplankton, salps, krill, predators, carbon, all linked by invisible flows. The Southern Ocean is often called remote, but its processes reach the planet. It absorbs heat. It stores carbon. It feeds great migrations. It drives global currents. A change here does not stay here. Salp blooms are part of that larger story. They show how a soft animal can influence hard systems. Food security for wildlife, carbon storage in the ocean, fisheries management, climate feedbacks, and the future of polar ecosystems. The salp does not look powerful. It looks fragile, almost empty. But power in the ocean is not always muscle. Sometimes it is timing. Sometimes it is reproduction. Sometimes it is filtration. Sometimes it is being everywhere at once. A salp chain can stretch through the water. Individual bodies joined in a drifting colony-like line. Each one pulsing, each one filtering, each one turning plankton into biomass. Multiply that by millions, and the sea begins to change. The bloom becomes a force, a quiet force, a transparent force, a force that redirects life. This is why scientists watch them closely, not because salps are villains. They are native parts of the system, but because balance matters. Too much change in one pathway can affect many others. Krill-based food webs support iconic Antarctic life. Salp-based pathways may support different outcomes. The question is not whether salps belong. They do. The question is what happens when they dominate. What happens to krill? What happens to whales? What happens to penguin chicks? What happens to carbon sinking into the deep? These questions are still unfolding. The Southern Ocean is changing in real time. Sea ice shifts. Water warms in some regions. Food webs respond. Salp blooms may become part of that response. They may rise where conditions suit them. They may fall where krill remain strong. The future may be a mosaic, a shifting map of krill, salps, ice, and predators. And that map will affect life from plankton to whales. In Antarctica, small animals have enormous consequences. Krill prove it. Salps prove it too. A body smaller than a finger can change the path of carbon. A transparent swarm can change predator feeding grounds. A bloom can rewrite the invisible economy of the sea. This is not the story of a monster. It is the story of a filter, a drifter, a gelatinous survivor, a creature almost invisible until there are millions. Then the ocean cannot ignore it. Picture the final scene. A cold blue world beneath Antarctic skies. Krill swarm in one patch of water. Salp chains drift in another. Penguins dive through the shifting map. Whales search for dense prey. Carbon falls silently into the deep. The food web is being written in motion, by ice, by plankton, by krill and salps, and by the swarms that may reshape the Antarctic Sea.